Let me tell you a story. And I promise, it's not just about computers or billion-dollar companies. It's about something deeper. Something that could change how you see success. And how you learn English. You ever feel like no one expects anything from you? Like your job is too small? Like your English isn't good enough to dream big? Well, this man, Jensen Huang, started out as a dishwasher at Denny's. Yeah, a dishwasher, scrubbing plates, mopping floors, trying to figure out life in a new country. Today, he's the CEO of NVIDIA, the company that powers video games, AI, and the future of technology. But that success didn't just happen. It came through heartbreak, rejection, late nights, big risks, and the kind of determination that makes you whisper to yourself, "I'm going to keep going no matter what." This is not just a story about tech. This is a story about you. About how stories, like Jensen's, can teach you real English, real words, real sentences, real courage. And maybe, just maybe, it'll show you how to go from "I can't" to "I will." Let's dive in. Part 2, The Boy from Taiwan. Jensen Huang was born on February 17th, 1963, in Tainan, Taiwan. But you know what's really interesting? He wasn't born into wealth. There were no high-tech gadgets in his home, no private schools, no golden ticket to success. Just a simple family, doing their best to live an honest life. In Taiwan, Jensen's early years were full of challenges, not the kind you see in action movies, but real-life stuff. Like, how do you fit in when you feel like an outsider? How do you survive in a world that moves too fast? Especially when you're still learning how it works. At the age of 9, everything changed. His parents made a huge decision, one that would shape his future forever. They sent Jensen and his brother to the United States, alone. Yes, alone. They were sent to live with relatives, new school, new language. Imagine being 9 years old and not understanding what your teacher is saying. Imagine trying to make friends when your English is shaky and your accent stands out. But Jensen didn't quit. He listened, he watched, he worked. He didn't just learn English, he lived it. He listened carefully to how people talked. He repeated phrases in his mind. He practiced every single day. Vocabulary and context. Words like challenge, alone, learn, and decision show up often in his story. You'll see them again, and you'll start to use them too. So if you ever feel nervous about your English, just think of that young boy, 9 years old, new country, new school, no excuses. Because even back then, Jensen Huang had something special. Not money, not connections, just a heart that said, "I'm going to keep trying." Part 3. School, Struggle, and Survival. When Jensen started school in the US, it wasn't easy. He didn't speak English fluently. He didn't understand the culture. Kids can be cruel sometimes, and being different made Jensen a target. He ended up at a boarding school in Kentucky, but not the kind of fancy place you see in movies. It was rough. The school was originally for troubled youth, and Jensen was just a regular kid trying to survive. He shared a dorm room with delinquents, kids who had been in trouble with the law. He once said, "We slept with our shoes under the bed because people would steal them." That's real. Real fear, real struggle, real life. Most kids would have begged to go home, but Jensen didn't complain. He got stronger, he got quieter, and inside, he was building something powerful. Grit. Real life sentence pattern. I didn't give up. I got stronger. Try saying that out loud. Feel the rhythm. Feel the meaning. Instead of feeling sorry for himself, he focused on learning. He started falling in love with math and science, the logic, the patterns. It made sense to him in a world that didn't always make sense. And guess what? He got good, really good. Jensen went on to earn a degree in electrical engineering from Oregon State University. Later, he got his master's degree from Stanford, one of the best schools in the world. From a scared kid in a rough boarding school to Stanford. Vocabulary and context. Struggle, focus, survive, grit, earn. These are words Jensen lived through, and now you're learning them too. So next time you're stuck on a word or afraid to speak, remember Jensen. He was learning a new language too. And just like you, he started small, but he never stopped. Part 4. The Big Idea. A company called NVIDIA. So, how does a quiet kid who once slept with shoes under his bed go on to build one of the most powerful tech companies in the world? Let's go back to 1993. At this point, Jensen Huang had already worked at a few big tech companies like LSI Logic and AMD. But something inside him was restless. He wasn't just thinking about doing a job. He was dreaming bigger. He saw something most people didn't. He believed that graphics chips, which were mostly used for video games at the time, had a future far beyond gaming. He thought they could change the entire world of computing. And get this, he had no money, no big office, no fancy investors at first. Just a dream. 2 co-founders, and a tiny apartment in Silicon Valley. That's where they started NVIDIA. Now, you've probably heard of NVIDIA because of video games or maybe AI. But back then, people laughed. They said, "Who needs better graphics cards?" They said, "You're wasting your time." But Jensen didn't quit. He never quit. He worked 7 days a week. He ate, slept, and breathed NVIDIA. He believed in something before the world even understood it. Real-life sentence pattern. Everybody laughed until it worked. Say it again. Everybody laughed until it worked. The company struggled in the early years. Products failed. They almost ran out of money. Jensen even questioned himself. But still, he pushed forward. Vocabulary and context. Dream, build, fail, push, believe. These are words you'll hear again and again in English and in life. Because here's the thing. Sometimes, to do something great, you have to start small. You have to face rejection. You have to believe when no one else does. And that's what Jensen did. He believed. And that belief, it built a future. Part 5. Almost lost it all. By the late 1990s, NVIDIA had released a few products, but none of them were major hits. Investors were getting nervous, competitors were moving faster, and inside the company, pressure was building. They were working on a new chip, one that had to work. If it failed, NVIDIA might go bankrupt. The chip was called the GeForce 256. It was bold, it was complex, and it was risky. Jensen and his team poured everything into it. Time, energy, sleepless nights. And then, it launched. Guess what? It changed everything. The GeForce 256 wasn't just better, it was revolutionary. It became the first graphics processing unit, or GPU. That's a word you hear today in gaming, design, and especially in artificial intelligence. This was the moment when NVIDIA stepped into the spotlight. But here's what you might not know. Even after this big success, Jensen stayed humble. He didn't run around bragging. He didn't relax. He knew that the tech world moves fast. And one great product doesn't guarantee survival. So he kept building, kept learning, kept leading. Mini vocabulary, highlight, launch, to release something important. Humble, not proud or arrogant survival, staying alive or successful. Real-life sentence pattern, success doesn't mean you stop, it means you push harder. Jensen taught his team something powerful. We never stop improving. And that's something you can use in your English learning too. Just like a chip that needs upgrades. Your brain needs daily practice, small improvements, steady growth. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. Because success, it's not a moment. It's a mindset. Part 6. The rise of the GPU and why it matters to you. After the launch of the GeForce 256, NVIDIA didn't just become a success. It became a game changer. See, most people thought GPUs were only good for video games, making your screen look cooler, making action scenes smoother. But Jensen, he saw more. He believed that GPUs could solve really big problems, the kind you face in medicine, science, and even self-driving cars. While others were still thinking small, Jensen was looking 10 years ahead. And guess what? He was right. Again. GPUs turned out to be perfect for one of the most powerful forces in technology today: artificial intelligence. When you train AI, it's not like teaching a kid with a book. It needs to do millions of calculations every second. And CPUs, your regular computer chips, just weren't fast enough. But GPUs, they could handle it. Fast, smart, efficient. Thanks to that, NVIDIA became the engine behind the AI revolution. Self-driving cars? They use NVIDIA chips. Medical research? NVIDIA again. Big companies like Google, Microsoft, and Tesla? They depend on NVIDIA. And behind it all, still wearing his leather jacket, is Jensen Huang. Real-life sentence pattern. While others saw a chip, he saw the future. Vocabulary and context. Revolution, calculation, artificial, depend, future. Let's pause for a second. You might be thinking, okay, that's cool, but how does this help me? Here's how. Jensen's story isn't just about technology. It's about seeing possibilities where others see limits. It's about believing in something before the world catches up. And most of all, it's about learning faster by doing things differently, just like you're doing now. You're not memorizing grammar rules from a dusty book. You're learning English through real emotional stories. That's powerful. And that's how your brain really remembers. Part 7. The leather jacket and the leader. Now let's talk about something kind of fun and totally unique to Jensen Huang. Have you ever seen him on stage? He's not wearing a suit, not even a tie. He always wears a black leather jacket. It's become his signature look, cool, confident, and simple. But that jacket isn't just about fashion. It says something deeper. Jensen doesn't try to look like a boss. He wants to act like a builder. He's still the engineer at heart, the guy who sketches ideas, writes code, and leads by doing. That's what makes him different from many CEOs. He's not loud. He's not flashy. He's thoughtful, quiet, and focused. Real-life sentence pattern. He doesn't talk big. He thinks big. When you listen to him speak, you'll notice his voice is calm. He chooses words carefully. He respects the power of clarity, something you're practicing right now in English. In fact, here's a cool truth. Jensen is one of the clearest tech speakers in the world. Even when he explains difficult topics like AI, he makes it simple and relatable. That's a skill worth copying, not just for business, but for your own English journey. Mini vocabulary, highlight, signature, a unique marker style someone is known for, clarity. the quality of being easy to understand, relatable, something that feels familiar or understandable. There's something inspiring about watching someone lead not with fear, but with vision, kindness, and clarity. He's the type of leader who says, "We're going to try something hard. We might fail, but we're going to do it together." Repeat that with me. We're going to do it together. Because that's what real leadership sounds like. And Jensen, he lives it. Part 8. From refugee roots to global recognition. Here's something that'll give you chills. Jensen Huang was once a refugee. He was born in Taiwan, but when political tension and danger rose in the region, his parents had to make a hard choice. They left everything behind to protect their children's future. That journey wasn't easy. They moved from Taiwan to Thailand, and then finally to the United States. When Jensen arrived in the US, he was just a little kid, confused, nervous, and speaking very little English. And where did he land? A boys' boarding school in Kentucky. One he later found out was actually meant for troubled kids. He was alone, far from family, and trying to fit in. He was often misunderstood, sometimes bullied, and almost always different. But this is the part that matters. He didn't quit. Instead of complaining, he studied harder. Instead of giving up, he kept showing up. And one day, he excelled. Jensen became a top student, made his way to Oregon State University, and later earned a master's degree from Stanford, one of the world's most respected schools. Real-life sentence pattern: he came with nothing and built everything. Vocabulary and context: refugee, tension, misunderstood, bullied, excelled. Think about that. From a scared kid at a boys' school to the CEO of a $1 trillion company. That's not just luck. That's grit. That's courage. That's the power of learning, dreaming, and staying strong. And you? You're doing the same thing right now. You might be learning English in a small town, or on your phone late at night. Maybe you feel unsure or behind. But remember this: Jensen Huang didn't speak perfect English when he started. He struggled. He made mistakes. And today, he's one of the most influential voices in the tech world. So, if he can do it, why not you? Part 9. The Turning Point: Betting Everything on the Future. Let's go back to the early 2000s. At that time, most companies were playing it safe. They were building faster CPUs and trying to do what worked last year. But Jensen? He was looking into the future. Again. He had an idea that seemed crazy to many people. What if we could use GPUs not just for graphics, but for deep learning and AI? Now remember, AI wasn't a big deal back then. People thought it was a science fiction dream, something for robots and movies. But Jensen believed that the next wave of computers wouldn't think like machines. They'd think more like humans. So what did he do? He made a massive decision. He restructured NVIDIA's entire focus. No more just chasing gaming chips. Now, NVIDIA would go all in on AI, real-life sentence pattern. He bet everything on a future no one else could see. Vocabulary and context: turning point, restructure, deep learning, decision. Wave people said he was nuts. Tech experts laughed. Stockholders got nervous. But Jensen didn't flinch. He told his team, "We're not gonna follow the crowd. We're gonna lead it." That one decision, it changed everything. NVIDIA's chips became the brains of AI systems all over the world, from self-driving cars to medical research labs, from chatbots to language translators. And suddenly, the world wasn't laughing anymore. They were listening. Jensen had done it. Again, he saw the invisible, he took the risk, and he made the world catch up. Now pause for a second. What does that teach you? When you feel afraid to try something new, like speaking English out loud, or when others tell you it's too late or too hard, remember this. Leaders aren't always the loudest. They're the ones brave enough to go first. And you can be that kind of leader too. Part 10. The mind of a builder. Why simplicity wins. Let's take a moment to zoom into Jensen Huang's brain. Not literally, of course, but into how he thinks. Because Jensen isn't just a businessman or a tech genius. He's a builder. Not just of chips, but of ideas, teams, and the future. He often says something really simple. If something is too complicated, it's not ready. That's a big idea. Let's sit with that for a second. If a product, or a lesson, or even a sentence is too complicated, maybe it needs to be simplified first. Jensen applies this to everything he does. When NVIDIA designs a new chip, he tells his engineers, "We're not just solving problems, we're solving them in a way people can use." Real-life sentence pattern. If people can't use it, what's the point of building it? That idea works in English too. You don't need to speak perfect grammar. You don't need to use big words all the time. You just need to speak clearly, simply, with purpose, just like Jensen. Mini vocabulary and context. Simplify, to make something easier to understand or do. Engineer, a person who designs and builds things. Builder, someone who creates things from the ground up. And this is why his leadership works. He doesn't try to impress. He tries to connect. When he gives a talk on AI or GPUs, people listen, not because he sounds smart, but because he makes you feel smart. That's the kind of teacher everyone wants. And guess what? You're becoming that too, as you learn how to tell your own story in English with simplicity and confidence. Just like Jensen does. Every word you learn right now is part of building your foundation. And that, my friend, is exactly how you build something powerful. Part 11. The power of presentation. Jackets, jokes, and genius. Let's talk about something unexpected. Jensen Huang's leather jacket. Yep, you read that right. Every time Jensen steps on stage, whether he's talking about AI, the metaverse, or new NVIDIA products, he's wearing that same black leather jacket. It's not random. It's his signature. Just like Steve Jobs had his turtleneck, or Elon Musk has his one-liners, Jensen has that jacket. And it's more than just style. It sends a message. I'm confident. I'm cool. And I'm going to explain something big in a way you can understand. You see, he knows something a lot of CEOs don't. People don't follow data. They follow energy. They follow story. They follow presence. And Jensen? He brings all of that without showing off. When he's on stage, he speaks in simple, clear sentences. He uses humor, smiles often, and breaks down massive ideas into words even a beginner can follow. Real-life sentence pattern. He doesn't talk down to you. He talks with you. Vocabulary and context. Signature. Something that makes you recognizable presence. How someone feels in a room even before they speak. Breakdown to explain something complex in a simple way. And here's what makes it even more powerful. He's not trying to be a superstar. He's trying to be a bridge between people and technology, between confusion and clarity. Now think about this. When you're speaking English, you don't need to be perfect. But can you be clear? Can you connect? That's what people remember. Not big words, not fancy grammar. They remember how you made them feel. Just like how we remember Jensen. not just for what he built, but for how he shares it. And that's a skill you can start using today. Speak simply, be kind, and wear your leather jacket, whatever gives you confidence. Part 12. When the world finally noticed. NVIDIA's big moment. Imagine working on something for years, maybe even decades, and nobody really gets it. You keep building. You keep dreaming. You keep trying to explain it. And then, suddenly, boom, the world wakes up. That's what happened to Jensen Huang. For a long time, NVIDIA was seen as just a gaming chip company. Gamers knew them, tech geeks admired them, but the mainstream world, they weren't paying attention. Then came something that changed everything. ChatGPT. Yep, that's right. When OpenAI launched ChatGPT, it needed something powerful to run all those AI calculations. And guess what it used? NVIDIA's GPUs. Real-life sentence pattern. Everyone wanted to know the secret behind AI, and they found Jensen Huang. Suddenly, Jensen wasn't just a tech guy. He was the man behind the curtain of the AI revolution. News outlets were calling, stock prices were climbing, governments were asking for help. Even students like you started hearing about him. Mini vocabulary in context. Mainstream, something that becomes known and accepted by the general public revolution. A huge, dramatic change in how things work behind the curtain. The person responsible for something big, but working quietly. And you know what's crazy? Jensen didn't shout. He didn't say, "I told you so." He just smiled and kept teaching, building, and sharing. This part of his story teaches us something huge. Success might not come when you expect it. But if you keep going, it will come, even if it takes years, even if no one sees you yet. Because the moment always arrives, the moment when the world finally says, "Hey, who's behind all this?" And if you're ready, that answer could be you. Part 13. Humble Roots, Global Impact, the Immigrant Dream. Let's pause the tech talk for a second and go back, way back, to Jensen Huang's roots. Jensen was born in Taiwan, in a town far from Silicon Valley. He moved to Thailand as a child, and then to America when he was just 9 years old. Now imagine this. You're a kid. You don't speak the language. You're in a brand new country. And your parents send you to a boarding school in rural Kentucky. That's exactly what happened. Jensen has talked about how tough that was. He didn't understand the culture. He felt alone. He had an accent. He was bullied, but he didn't let it break him. Real-life sentence pattern. He didn't fit in, but he refused to give up. He studied hard. He stayed quiet, but he watched. He listened, he learned, and over time, that quiet immigrant boy would become the voice of the future. Mini vocabulary in context. Immigrant, someone who moves from one country to live in another boarding school, a school where students live and study full-time. Bullied, to be treated badly, usually by other kids, or people in power. Jensen's story reminds us of something powerful. Your beginning doesn't decide your ending. You might feel like the world doesn't understand you yet. You might have an accent. You might feel small in a big world. But those struggles, they shape your strength. Jensen didn't erase his identity. He embraced it. He turned his quiet beginnings into loud victories. He turned pain into purpose. And he became the kind of leader that proves where you start doesn't matter. What you choose to become does. And if you're learning English right now, feeling like it's too hard, too far, because if he could go from a scared 9-year-old boy in Kentucky to one of the most powerful names in global tech, then you're just getting started. Part 14, Betting on the Future, Even When No One Else Believes. Let's go back to a key moment in Jensen Huang's journey. It's the early 2000s. NVIDIA is doing okay. People know the company for gaming, but Jensen, he sees something else, something big. He starts talking about how GPUs, graphics processing units, aren't just for video games. He says they can solve math problems, simulate the human brain, and maybe even power artificial intelligence. People laugh. Investors get nervous. Even some team members aren't sure. But Jensen doesn't back down. Real-life sentence pattern. He saw what others didn't, and kept going anyway. This is what makes him different. He bets on the future, even when the present is comfortable. Instead of just selling more gaming chips, he pours time and money into something called CUDA, a platform that lets developers use NVIDIA chips to do science, research, and AI work. It was hard. It took years. People didn't get it. But Jensen believed. He believed so much that he told his team, "We're gonna build this, even if nobody comes." And that right there, that's the kind of belief that changes the world. Mini vocabulary in context. Betting on. Putting your faith or risk into something you believe in. Back down. To quit or give up when things get hard. Platform. A base system or tool that lets people build things on top of it. Most people wait for proof. They wait for signs. But visionaries, they go first. And Jensen was one of those people. When no one believed, he invested. He built. He waited. And eventually, the world caught up. The same people who once said, "Why?" were now saying, "Wow." And that's a powerful lesson for you, too. You don't need everyone to believe in your dream. You just need to believe enough to start. And once you start, you're already ahead of the crowd. Part 15. The Power of Patience. How long it really takes. Everybody talks about success like it happens overnight. But let's be real, it doesn't. For Jensen Huang, success was slow. Years of hard work. Years of people not understanding. Years of being ahead of his time. While other companies were chasing fast money, Jensen was building deep foundations. He wasn't chasing attention. He was chasing the future. You know how long it took for people to finally say, "Wow, NVIDIA changed the world?" Over 2 decades. Let that sink in. Real-life sentence pattern. It took more than 20 years of quiet building before the world gave him a standing ovation. In that time, Jensen could have quit. He could have sold the company. He could have taken the easy way out. But he didn't. Why? Because he wasn't doing it just for success. He was doing it for impact. Mini vocabulary and context. Patience. The ability to wait without getting upset or quitting. Foundation. The strong base of something that everything else is built on. Ovation. When people clap loudly to honor someone. And that's one of the most important lessons in this entire documentary. Big dreams take big patience. Whether you're learning English, building a business, or chasing your passion, you gotta be okay with being slow as long as you're moving forward. Because every day you learn, every word you practice, every effort you make, it adds up. Jensen once said something powerful. If I had one superpower, it would be endurance. Not brilliance, not luck, endurance. And that's a superpower you can build too. Especially if you're learning something hard, like a new language. So if today feels slow, if you feel like you're stuck, just remember, slow progress is still progress, and patience isn't weakness. It's strength. Part 16. Leading with Heart. The CEO who wears a leather jacket. Most CEOs wear suits. They sit in glass offices. They speak in business jargon. But Jensen Huang, he's different. He shows up in a black leather jacket, on stage, with real passion and real words. Not corporate fluff, not rehearsed lines, just himself. Why does this matter? Because he's not trying to look perfect. He's trying to stay real. And real leadership? That's what people trust. Real life sentence pattern. He leads with heart, not just with numbers. Jensen doesn't hide behind charts and graphs. He talks directly to developers, engineers, and creators. He shares stories. He laughs with them. Sometimes, he even tears up. He remembers what it's like to be the underdog. He remembers being the outsider. And he never forgets his roots. Mini vocabulary in context. Underdog, a person who is expected to lose or fail but still tries jargon. Special words used by professionals that are hard to understand corporate, related to big companies or business settings. And maybe that's what makes him so respected. Not just because he's a tech genius, but because he's human. He admits when he's wrong. He celebrates the wins. And he always gives credit to his team. In one interview, he said, "My job isn't to know everything. My job is to bring out the best in everyone." Now that's leadership with soul. And for anyone watching this, especially young students, English learners, or future leaders, you don't need to change who you are to lead. You don't need a fancy accent. You don't need a perfect resume. You just need authenticity and a mission bigger than yourself. So whether you wear a hoodie or a leather jacket, whether you speak perfect English or you're still learning, you can still lead. Part 17, a company that feels like family. Let's talk about something most documentaries forget. The people. Behind every great company are people, not just engineers, not just executives, but people who feel seen, heard, and valued. And that's what Jensen Huang built at NVIDIA. He didn't want a cold company with rules and ranks. He wanted a culture, a place where people feel like they belong. When someone joins NVIDIA, they're not just another name on the payroll. They're part of the mission. They're part of the journey, real-life sentence pattern. He built a company that feels more like a community. One engineer once said, "Working at NVIDIA doesn't feel like a job. It feels like building the future, together." And Jensen? He listens. He walks around. He checks in with teams personally. He even knows some employees by name, even though the company is huge. That kind of connection, it doesn't come from power. It comes from care. Mini vocabulary in context. Culture, the shared values and way of working in a company or group payroll. The list of people a company pays as employees, community. A group of people who support each other and share a purpose. And here's the thing. In the tech world, where people jump from job to job, NVIDIA has one of the highest retention rates. Why? Because people stay where they feel respected. People stay where they feel part of something. That's why Jensen is more than just a CEO. He's a builder of both technology and trust. And if you're a student, a teacher, or even a beginner at anything, here's your takeaway. Success isn't just about what you build. It's also about who you build it with. So whether you're learning English, starting a business, or building a dream, surround yourself with people who believe in it too. Treat them with care, and grow together, just like Jensen did. Part 18, from gaming to the galaxy, changing the world without trying to be famous. When Jensen Huang started NVIDIA, people thought it was all about graphics cards. You know, stuff to make video games look cooler. And it did. Big time. Gamers loved NVIDIA. Their GPUs made games faster, smoother, more real. But here's the twist. That was just the beginning. While the world was busy playing, Jensen was quietly building the brainpower of the future. Those same graphics chips, they turned out to be perfect for artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, robots, medical breakthroughs, even space exploration, all powered by NVIDIA's tech. It's wild, right? Real-life sentence pattern. What started as gaming turned into something way bigger, the foundation of modern AI. And Jensen? He didn't shout it from the rooftops. He didn't race to get famous. He just kept doing the work. Mini vocabulary in context, breakthrough, a major discovery or big improvement in science or technology foundation, the base or starting point for something important. Exploration, the act of going into the unknown to discover or learn. One scientist even said, if NVIDIA didn't exist, AI might still be 10 years behind. And here's the coolest part. Jensen never said, I'm going to be a legend. He just asked, how can we solve this problem? That mindset, focusing on solutions, not spotlight, that's what made him a true visionary. He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing purpose. And now, the whole world's catching up to what he saw decades ago. So what's the lesson for us? Sometimes your work is quiet, your progress is invisible, and people don't get it yet. But if you stay focused, if you believe in what you're building, if you keep solving problems, one day the world will turn around and say, wait, how did we live without this? Just like they did with Jensen. Part 19. Respect over riches. What success really means. Let's pause for a second. Jensen Huang is a billionaire, yes. Billion with a B. He could buy anything. Cars, islands, jet planes. But if you ask him what matters most, it's not the money. It's not the spotlight. It's the respect of the people he works with. He once said something powerful. The highest honor is not wealth. It's when smart people choose to work with you. That tells you everything about his values. He never chased money. He chased excellence. He chased integrity. He chased honest work. Real-life sentence pattern. He didn't work for applause. He worked for impact. And the funny thing is, that's exactly why he became so successful. People trust him. They admire him. And they follow him because he's not trying to be the richest. He's trying to be the realist. Mini vocabulary and context. Integrity, being honest, and doing the right thing, even when no one's watching. Honor, deep respect from others because of good actions or values. Applause, public praise or approval, like clapping for someone on stage. Now think about this, English learners, you might not be rich. You might not be fluent yet, but you can earn respect every single day by working hard, by being kind, by doing what's right, even when it's tough. That's how Jensen earned it. Not through shortcuts, not through luck, but through decades of consistent effort. So here's your motivation for today. Don't just learn English to pass a test. Learn it so you can connect, lead, and inspire, just like Jensen. Because real success, it's not about what you have. It's about who you become. Part 20. Inspiring closing. Your story starts now, so here we are, at the end of this journey. From a small boy born in Taiwan to a dishwasher in Kentucky. From a shy student struggling to fit in to the founder of one of the most powerful tech companies in the world. Jensen Huang didn't follow a straight line. His life was full of twists, challenges, fears, and doubts. But he kept going, not because he knew he'd win, but because he believed in the power of learning, of growing, of trying. And now, his work touches every corner of the world: AI, medicine, cars, robotics, space, all shaped by the ideas of someone who once couldn't even speak fluent English. Think about that. He didn't wait for perfection. He just took the next step. And that's what you can do too. Real-life sentence pattern. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to begin. Right now, you might feel stuck. Maybe your English isn't strong yet. Maybe you're scared to speak, scared to try, scared to fail. But remember Jensen's story. He was there too, lost, quiet, unsure. But he kept showing up, kept learning, kept believing. And now, the world knows his name, not because he chased fame, but because he chased meaning. Many vocabulary and context. Perfection, the state of being perfect. But nobody needs it to start. Believe, to trust in something, even when it's hard. Meaning, the deeper reason behind what we do. So here's your moment, not just to learn English, but to believe in your own future, to speak, even if your words are broken, to try, even if your confidence shakes, to dream, even if others laugh. Because your story? It's just beginning. And who knows, maybe one day someone will watch your documentary and they'll say, if they could do it, so can I. That's how inspiration works. That's how greatness begins. So breathe in, stand tall, and take your next step. Your story starts now. If you loved this video and want to improve your English faster, do these 3 things right now. 1. Hit that subscribe button, because I drop powerful English lessons like this every week. 2. Smash the like button, so YouTube knows this video helped you. 3. Share with friends, because everyone deserves to speak English confidently. On the Control English, you get the world's simplest English tricks. Tap the bell icon to never miss a new lesson. Today's challenge: share this video with 2 friends and tell them, this channel will change your English game. Thank you. Keep learning. Keep growing.